We're all broken. We're putting ourselves together to feed people. There's nothing cooler. Every day people are coming to be fed, and we're showing up broken as shit, trying to get our shit together so we can dress the salad perfectly for you, and you want to be disgruntled about it or over the moon about it. But that's our risk. That's what we want to do. We want to feed people. That is the coolest thing in the world to me.
I love this book. Congratulations on it.
It's a good one. It's very good. It's a beautiful book.
I want to talk a little bit about the book. I want to talk a little bit about how we got to the book. I want to talk a little bit about the bear. But let's start with the book. The opening line is something like, I wanted to write this book, a cookbook, with no ego. What does that mean?
Well, I wrote this book about 2 years ago, so, I forget what I wrote. But I think the ego thing was, my first book was my life through a culinary lens. My grandparents, my wife's parents, cooking school, restaurants, all these things. I'm like, for my first book, it is like my life through a culinary lens. And I'm like, that's kind of, narcissistic to say, I love myself so much. And then my next book was just like, I wanted an ode to like foundational, all things cooking, bread, stocks, entrees, appetizers, desserts, all that kind of stuff, like a beginning to an end of like a cooking book. And then this book, I was just like, I should write a book like for actually people that I think, what do people eat every day? I'm like, all I eat is like a friggin' salad and like a soup, or I eat this, I'm at home and I make my kids a sandwich, or I'm like, truly, I'm like, are people really cooking out of cookbooks like 5 nights a week? I want to make a book that people genuinely cook out of consistently. Not just like sport cooking or event cooking or anything. Like, it's just like, I want, like every time I make a salad at home, I make the same dang salad. I cut up like the green beans and the olive and onion, and then salad and oil and vinegar and salt and pepper. It's just like, I need something else, man.
You wanted to make a cookbook that's like not about like, look what I can do, or like here's the theories of food, or here's an idea behind food. I felt like the book, in addition to being a recipe book, at the risk of sounding like I read too much into things, which I tend to do, in addition to it being a recipe book, it felt like a book about like the importance of cooking food for others, for other people in your life.
Well, I think that's everything. Isn't that everything? Cooking for somebody else, cooking for yourself, doing something that you're trying at, and maybe it's good, maybe it's bad, but you're being vulnerable doing it, getting it on the plate, feeding somebody else, giving them actual nourishment. That's as good as it gets.
So where did you start writing this one?
I don't know, probably on a plane, on my phone. I wrote my first book completely on my notes in my phone, and then I got like a laptop on my second one, I think, and I wrote some of it on my laptop. And then this one started probably on my phone, is where I only have my phone. I don't travel with a laptop. I don't like stuff like that. So I'm just like, got my phone, typing like that. And then I'm just like, yeah. And then, but I'm thinking about like stuff like, I'm trying to think what, like, those click moments. Like, cause I'm like, I'm an idea person. Like I'm not gonna just give I'm like, oh, here's Wednesday night dinner party cookbook. Like I want my books to be, I do want them to be like profound. I think books last forever. They're beautiful. They're more than just a internet thing. Like books are really, I think we need to respect books. I think they're really like tangible, beautiful things. I love cookbooks so much.
So when it came time to make your own, to make these ones, what, given that you were a bit of a student of cookbooks up to that point, like what did you want it to have? What did you want it to not have?
I wanted it to be easier. A lot of people, like, recipes, they're daunting and they're long and they're inconsistent, and also they're a blueprint, and also like people are always like, your recipes don't work. I'm like, well, show me blueprints on how to make a stool, and I'm sure my first stool isn't that good. But if I made the stool 30 times, I'm sure my stool would be a little bit better.
Right.
I'm like, cooking is a trade. It's a thing. It's nuanced. There's things in it that maybe you're reading and not really understanding, And I think this book, I want to be like, there's a sun-warmed tomato sandwich with just bread. That's nice. Sliced tomatoes, but you got to go get beautiful, fresh tomatoes. Don't use those like hothouse loser ones in December. You don't need those. So there's like, that's the nuance. That's the thing. Something so simple. It's just like a beautiful like little thing, right? But it's like a book doesn't have to, a recipe also doesn't have to be this like end all be all. It could just, if you don't like tarragon, use parsley, or if you don't like chicken, use turkey, or if you don't like pork, like you can interchange a lot of these things and make them yourself and what you truly love. And it's just a spark.
So I want to talk about like how we get to this way that you think about food that I think is related to a lot of people. And you were talking about this a little bit backstage. I saw someone kind of come up and ask you a question I wanted to ask you. But talk to me a little bit about how, can you just tell the story about like your grandfather? Like he was an RCMP officer in Whitehorse, and then he ended up starting a restaurant.
Yeah, Grampy. So Grampy's good.
Is he still around?
No, he's not with us. Right. No, Grampy's gone. He's good though. He'd like that.
Yeah,
he'd like that. He was a smarty pants. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when he retired from the Mounties, he had like, my dad grew up in they had like a little slaughterhouse meat market farm thing in New Brunswick, and then he sold that farm, and then he moved back to PEI where he was born. And he built like a curling rink, had a little curling rink going, real Canadian family over here. And then he had the Blue Goose restaurant. At the time, it was just like Grampy's restaurant. We got to go to Blue. I mean, I got to eat like club sandwiches all the time, or get like fries and gravy, or whatever, or have turkey dinner, or like his chowder was amazing. Or we got to go clam digging when the tide's out, bring them back, and do like boiled clams and mussels, and like do a lobster boil in the driveway. And we loved it so much. And I think my love of restaurants maybe comes from like the love of my grandfather. I didn't really clock it until, later, and you start writing books and trying to spin some yarn about some business, but
Yeah, but like it was it formative, do you think, that time?
Yeah, I don't know. You're a kid. It's like these core memories people talk about,
Yeah.
Yeah, cored up. We're all cored up. Thinking about, like, I can still see we weren't allowed to open the door in the apartment. Like, it would go to the kitchen, and you see like the stainless steel, and it was a busy restaurant. Like, it was a really pumping spot, and it's just like you'd open that door, and like we would just sit there and like look, and it was just like all these things happening. You don't even know what's happening. It's like those moments. Like, we're like 3 feet tall, and we're like, I'm like 8 years old, just being like, wow, what is this? And then he'd come and be like, what are you doing? This is dangerous, and like yell at us because couldn't understand him either. He had like a really thick accent.
Yeah, my people. I know that.
Yeah, like a real thick. Yeah. We always ask, like, why is he grumpy? And like, we can't understand Grampy. Like, we can't clock what he's saying.
Yeah.
And he never says like he's not like he was like one of those like not a big I love you guy.
Yeah. What a shock. Someone from the East Coast, not a big I love you guy. Yeah, it's real shocker for me.
He just wanted his nectar, and that was just like lamb's rum and Sprite or something.
Yeah.
We'd have to go look at albatrosses. Yeah, like he was a big avid bird watcher. And then in the middle of the summer, we'd go down all these dirt roads. There's a ton of dirt roads across the island. And so like you'd be going, and we'd sit in a field with no air conditioning for like 2 hours. And I think him and my dad were just drinking rum, looking at birds. I was just like, what? I was like, where's it going? Grampy, dude, we got, what? There's one binocular. You got the binoculars. We can't see the birds. Grampy, dog.
So when you move to, are you cooking at home? Is the family cooking at home?
Yeah, when I'm home, yeah, for sure.
No, when you were growing up, was the family cooking at home?
Only, we didn't eat in restaurants. We grew up like working class.
So what were you cooking?
Spaghetti with like green peppers and mushrooms in it, I think. Yeah. I don't know. Just like beige and unremarkable white people food.
Yeah.
Like, a pork chop. And my dad hated like soft, buttery mashed potatoes. He just wants forked, like boiled potatoes that are forked.
Yuck.
And like rutabaga and turnip. Everything was like that. And he loved beans cooked to shit. Our Brussels sprouts were always cooked to shit. And it was just vinegar and salt. Like, I was just like, okay, this is good. Brussels sprouts cooked to gray with vinegar and salt. Beautiful cuisine. But amazing. Like, we cooked every day. Like, my parents made a lot of bread. My mom used to mill her own grain. Like, not even like make her own bread. We moved around a lot as kids. And we would have to move. We always had, like, I was like, what? I was like, are you guys preppers? And like, I was just like, they ain't preppers, but they loved making bread. And so like my dad, being frugal, I'd say is maybe a nice way of saying it. We'd have these bags of grain. And then like, we'd wake up every morning.
What? Like he would do like
bags of grain
and
for his children to eat. And my mom would just mill bread.
Why?
Every morning.
Why weren't they buying flour at least?
Because this bag of grain was cheaper than buying flour.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right, so you have this memory of your family like making bread from...
Yeah, it's in my first book. I talk about it. I talk about the pains of not having Wonder Bread. Yeah, this nice homemade bread. Yeah, everyone during the pandemic making sourdough. Cool. We're good. Good for you. I'm out there buying Wonder Bread, eating my sugar loaf. I grew up in a house of pickles. I grew up in a house of like preserving things. I grew up in a house of making bread. I grew up in a house, and I begrudgingly hated it. I thought I was like the kid. Why is my loaf of bread this fat? Kids' sandwiches don't look like this. I was embarrassed. You know, like I would go to school and my food would look home cooked, and other kids had like sandwiches with like normal bread. Trauma.
So when is the you're playing in punk, you're touring around with punk bands, like you're doing
punking it up.
When does the cooking, like why do you go to Humber to do cooking at all?
Because no diss to Fort Erie, I didn't like it at the time. Small town stuff. I wanted to be in the city. I wanted to go to like punk shows and live in the city and get fucked up and have a fucking life and get out of a small town and not stop drinking in the woods. I wanted to stop drinking. I was like, there's got to be a place with bars. There's got to be. I'm sick of stealing the soccer bleachers and bringing them into the woods. You know, like I don't want to bring the bleachers into the woods again because it's tiring and they keep stealing our bleachers. And why can't we drink somewhere where we don't have to start a fire?
Yeah, that didn't have the pit spray painted on a rock nearby. Yeah,
our drink, like our woods, we called it the honeycomb.
Yeah, ours was the pit.
Yeah, ours was the honeycomb.
What was going on in the honeycomb?
Fighting, drinking, and bullying.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of bullying.
Running away from cops. That was mainly it.
But we called the honeycomb because we had all these different clearings that we made. And yeah, if the cops came, it was easy because the monkey dog was out there and the monkey dog would get them. And then like...
What's the monkey dog?
Well, I don't know. But the monkey dog was out there in the honeycomb, and enough shrooms will get you to a place where you don't want to meet the monkey dog. And then we would always just start screaming for the monkey dog to come help us when the cops came. And then
is the monkey dog a fictional character?
Yeah, the monkey dog.
It's not a dog that looks like a monkey that someone owns.
I don't think I've ever... Yeah, it was in... Yeah.
Oh, are you revealing something with the monkey dog here? All right.
No, not really. I think we were just we thought... There's a lot of like coyotes and stuff back there, but one time somebody... I forget who it was. Somebody was like, there's a monkey dog out here. And we're all like, what? So I can't,
So to escape the monkey dog, you go to Toronto.
We get to Toronto. It's so nice here.
Hold on. So, but like, why? I guess what I'm curious about is why food? Like, why cooking?
I couldn't get into anything. I was a mediocre. I shouldn't say I was mediocre. I was a indifferent high school student. Didn't care. Had to negotiate with my principal to get me just 50% to get into college, or 60. I had 60. I had to get 60 to get into Humber. And so I had to like negotiate, and I had like a bad relationship, I would say, with my vice principal and my principal. And so I had to like really like just be like, you don't want me to stick around. I don't want to stick around. What are we doing? What do I got to do? I'm not going to be a scientist. Geology? What? Geography? What are we talking about here? What are we doing in school? I'm like, I don't get it. This is science? I'm not going to be a fucking what? Get me out of here, dog. And I don't want to be a pipe fitter. I don't want to be a construction worker. I don't want to be a roofer. I don't want to be these things that all my friends are doing. I don't want a lawn care business. I don't. And no disrespect to any of that. And my family are a long line of laborers. But it is like, I was just like, no, I want to go to the city. I want to like get messed up in the city and get on the subway and do things and see punk shows and go to art shows and like be a part of this world. I wanted to ride my bike around and like fall over in an alleyway. Honestly, like that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be with freaks. I was an outsider kid in my town. I wasn't a farmer and I wasn't an athlete and I wasn't a jock and I wasn't whatever it was. I dyed my hair green and had nail polish and wanted to listen to White Zombie. I was just like, I'm not like you.
So when you go to Humber, does something happen? When you go to Humber?
Yeah, Humber was amazing. College was a thing that gave me self-esteem and self-confidence, and I was able to cook and able to do something that I genuinely kind of liked.
Hold on. What gave you self-esteem and self-confidence?
Doing something and...
Cooking,
yeah. Like debone a quail and make a pate. Okay. There you go. I get grades for this? Sick. Make an Espanol sauce out of beef stock? Okay. Add tomato paste to beef stock? Okay. Make hollandaise for your test. Okay. Whisk eggs with clarified butter. Sick. It just was easy for me. And so I was just like, this is cool. I never had a natural ability. I wasn't good at science. I wasn't good at math. I wasn't good at recess, or I wasn't good at gym class.
You're bad at recess?
I don't know. I think I was just always getting in trouble. I wasn't good at recess. I was always getting in trouble. I was not good at school. I was very I was like a very disgruntled youth.
So what's the feeling then? And this is my job here as CBC radio host. What's the feeling of when you start to be good at something?
Incredible. It was, I don't know. It made things easy. I was getting attention in a different way, from being bad to being good, but still being me. You know, and I was just able to not I still had to wear my chef whites every day and be on time. And no matter how late we stayed out and no matter how hard, I used to get mangled. And so it's just I was young then, so it didn't matter. You could just not sleep and go to school for years. And it's just but
you also would show up. You could have not shown up.
But that's the thing. I showed up every day. If you met in culinary school at Humber at that time, if you missed 3 classes, you were just kicked out of the program, because they're teaching you how to show up for work. They're showing you how to shave every day. Just shaving every day. I was just like, what? And they would make you dry shave if you didn't. So you'd be if you showed up and you had any type of facial hair, they'd just give you a dry razor and shave it, and you're like, perfect.
And you're like this anti-authority guy from Fort Erie, and you're like, I like this. This is it. This is what I like.
Yeah, Chef Bevan, Chef McCann, all my dogs. I love those dudes.
You're like, I like that I have to show up and I shave and I have to have some.
Yeah, it was. I never had something like that. Even when I was working, yeah.
So when you got out, what was the dream? When you got out and you start working at Le Select?
There's no dreams. This is everything, guys. There's no dreams. We just do things. I'm I don't know. Now I can dream. Now I can dream. But before, I was just working. You remember handing out resumes, walking around? Remember resumes? I don't know if you still have resumes. I haven't had to give a resume in a long time. But you'd go and walk around, and I would walk up and down Queen Street. Or Queen Street was this 2003, walk around and walk into every restaurant. I gave out 100 resumes, and I printed 100 resumes with cover letters, all these things, and I had to go get a job, before you could get how do you get jobs in the early 2000s? I don't know, walk around and aimlessly walk into any restaurant on Queen or King Street, and I gave out all my resumes, and a week and a half later, I got a call from Vicky, who was one of the owners of Le Select, and they were like, we need, come in.
What was your first job at Le Select?
The first thing I ever actually did, I think I had to make a giant 16-liter pail of sun-dried tomato vinaigrette for a roasted lamb rack dish. And I turned around and I had the giant blend stick in it. I turned around and flipped upside down. I got covered in the salad dressing. And I was just like, what? What? And I got in trouble, and then I had to go change, and then I kept working, and then, mistakes, but you keep going. Clean it up.
It's just I think what I'm trying to do here is just try to build to how we got to this place where you have this.
Well, we're building. It's.
Well, you know what I mean? Because you're there, you're working in this pretty. I mean, for someone who's handing out resumes, Le Select is one of the best places you can work in at the time.
I couldn't believe it. But I didn't know. It's not people have the internet. Nobody knew. Le Select was for people that went to bistros, families that went to bistros, loved bread baskets that hung from the ceiling. I didn't know about that. I didn't know about jazz. I didn't know. Drinking Matus with weird old servers at 4 a.m.
Yeah, you knew the monkey. You knew the monkey dog. That was it.
Yeah, I'm down with the monkey, dude. I never had Vietnamese food.
Right.
Work with, and that's where I met Rang. And Rang was this I was hungover as crap one day, and he shared his pho because he would never eat a family meal. He would never eat anything because he's I don't eat this French shit. And so he would always go to Chinatown and get a snapper, do rice and just a fried snapper thing, or he'd bring Vietnamese food. And the first time I ever had pho was him. He gave me a cup of pho, but he put a ton of bird's eye chilies in it. He's like, this will be good for you. And I was just like, what, dude, I'm from Fort Erie. We ain't got bird's eye chilies in Fort Erie, dog. And so, yeah, and then we met Rang, and then it's we got here.
When you
how do you get here? Take the bus.
When you
take the bus is how you get there.
When you go to, when I say Oddfellows and Parts and Labor, what comes to mind? What do you remember from that time?
Remember? I remember I was young. I remember I opened Oddfellows when I was 26. And I remember having a place that I remember the oldest person that worked there was 30 when he called her grandma. I remember that. But I like a bunch of kids that didn't know what to do. A bunch of kids that like were doing things the way they wanted. People told us to turn our music down, and we were like, "Go, guy, turn it up."
Yeah.
Like we weren't doing hospitality. I didn't understand hospitality. I knew how to cook like ego-driven chef food that I wanted to do, and I was this thing.
What does that mean?
Well, I was making food. Like I was at this high. Like I worked at La Select. I worked at La Palette. I opened my first restaurant when I was 26. People wrote articles about it. They were like, "Who is this person?" Like a lot of ego stuff at a young age, where I didn't understand things, and I didn't understand. I was just like, "What are these reviews? Like news? Who reads newspapers? What?"
Yeah.
Like people were showing me like a food review of a restaurant. I was just like, "What?"
Yeah.
It was like, and then like New York Times wrote about it when I was a thing about this restaurant and whatever, and I was just like, I don't know, whatever, dude. I was just like, I'm just gonna go do drugs in the bathroom and like hang out with my buddies.
Were you really like this? You really had no like holy shitness about the New York Times writing about you at this age, or like the
no, dude, no. There's no internet. I don't. Even at that time, I still just had like I think some T9 text like Razor.
But there was no feeling
like it's
of
like the internet expanded everything. Like we didn't know anything. I was making a restaurant because I wanted to run a restaurant. I wanted my home. Like that's all it was a home. Like I lived in like I was there 16 hours a day. I was there like like you drank there. It's a place to hang out. It's a place to like sleep sometimes. It's like I don't know. It was like a place for everything, and it was just like Oddfellows. Oddfellows is crazy. It's like a 26-seat table, and it was like a crazy time, and it was like a beautiful time, and it was like we're all young, and like I don't know, it was great. We gave away. It only lasted 2 years. It was a magical thing. Like it was like a band. Like it was like a thing that's like we burn it to the ground. Like every Sunday we'd have like Taco Hell, where it was all you could eat tacos, and all my friends would show up. We wouldn't charge you, and we'd give you all of our booze for free, and like we would just like we're paying to have my friends come.
I remember that. I remember coming to Toronto from Newfoundland and people telling me I needed to go to P&L or I needed to go to Oddfellows.
Parts and labor was just crazy. And also like doing things without business plans. Like there's a whole, I'm a bit smarter now, that's for sure. But like doing businesses without business plans and doing things without like no accountability on anything. And like just every week being like, all right. And we're like, what? And they were like, I think we gave away $10,000 worth of beer last week. And we're like, okay. But we made money. And they're like, no, there's no money. We gave away $10,000 in beer that we can see. And I'm like, okay. Food's good, though. They're like, food's good. And I'm like, all right. Figure out that beer thing. We pass our hat around at the end of the night sometimes. All of our friends. Sometimes you don't put anything in the hat. What do you want us to do? Stop drinking here till 8 a.m. every day? Come on. I don't know. Lisa was there. Dark.
And you were partying. You were partying.
Yeah, we were young. 20. Yeah. I don't know. Who's not partying at 26, 27? I don't know. People were trying to be something.
So I guess my question, and you and I talked about this before, and we talked about this even a little bit backstage, is I think the sobriety story of you is a well-known one at this point, almost better than anyone in Canada. I think because I think a lot of people took a lot from it, so I won't make you tell it. But you were partying, you were going pretty hard on booze and drugs, and during those years. And there comes a time where you have to stop. What I find really interesting is that you had a heart attack. I always was under the impression that that's when the stop was. Like I have a heart attack, and that's when the come to God.
That's why I kept going.
You kept going after that.
Yeah, Superman ego. I didn't die.
Right, I didn't die, so
I can go harder and become more secretive about it because now everyone cares and everyone clocked it. Everyone knew about it, everyone's sad. And then I was just like, now I have to hide. Then you go isolate and get weirder, start hanging out at different places. Yeah. Get real creative.
Because you're ashamed. You don't want people to see you. Don't want
people I was getting kicked out of a lot of my friends' bars by the end of it. So it was just like I wasn't allowed to go a lot of places, and like, yeah.
So hold on. Can you tell me? I actually don't really know what the point was. Like what the actual point was.
It was a very specific night at Parts and Labor, and
you don't have to go into
Yeah, no, it was just like whatever. I was indifferent. I was no longer being cool, you know. I wasn't nice really probably. And yeah, I went into the restaurant like mid-service and my partners were sitting at this table and they're like, "You're done." And I was just like, "Okay." And I walked out into the dining room. I was like, "What's up?" And I did like, you know, be Matty before Matty. You know, and I was just like, "How's everybody doing? How's the food? How's everything? What's up? Like, let's go." Blah. And everyone starts cheering, and I get the whole room cheering, and I look at my partners. I'm like, "What are you going to do?" Then they fired me. Or it didn't fire me, but the next day they wanted to have a coffee, and then the coffee was his intervention, and then I show up, and it's people I love, and then I'm like, "Oh, okay."
Jesus Christ.
Then I'll listen to these people I love because I love them. And then my wife wasn't there. And then I was just like, "Where's Trish?" I was like, these are my cornerstone people. I was like, "Where?" And then she's like, "She's done." And I was just like, okay. And then she's just like, "Yeah, she's it's up to you now. Like, she ain't got nothing left to say." I was like, "Okay." And so the next day I went to a meeting and the miracle happened. Like, it is like one of those things. I went to the meeting. And I think I was genuinely at my spiritual bottom. And probably like I never had finances, so it's not like I hit I never had money. Even being a chef, I had no money. And then, yeah, it was like in the meeting, someone was just like, "You never have to do this again. You don't have to lie. You don't have to use. You don't have to do it. You're good." And I was just like, huh. And that's the mirror. Like, it was just like, it clicked.
What happens then in that? Like, it feels like there's a before and after, and then like massive success has happened since then. I'm not here to say that people who aren't sober can't have massive success, because obviously they can.
Anyone can have it,
but
if
like,
they don't give up.
what something changed, right? Because it's a before and after.
Well, I think being accountable to yourself and having genuine and being accountable to others around you and understanding your part in every relationship that's around you, and just having mindfulness and openness and willingness to go forward in a way is a nice way to live. And it's just like, before it was just like me, and now it's how's everyone? And I think you just get further being like, how's everybody? How does this work for people? Is this going to affect everyone? Is this good for us? Is this nice for us? Then like, let's keep going down this road. If it's not, then let's be aware of that and understand why we're not there, and then we can keep moving. And I think it's just like baby steps. I'm like a crawl, walk, run person now. I like to really understand even though it seems like I'm doing a lot and I'm all everywhere or whatever the heck it is and all these things, and everyone's like, "You do so much." And I'm like, well, everyone's got a job. If somebody was to look at somebody, everyone does a lot. Everyone goes to the most mundane job ever. It's still a lot of different things every single day. It's just like my stuff is just different. And I do the same amount of work. Everyone's like, "How do you do it?" I'm like, well, I don't know. Instead of taking the bus to work, sometimes I fly to a different city. And sometimes I, write a book instead of saving somebody's life or doing somebody's sutures, or if somebody's writing, or teaching somebody how to, do the alphabet in school. Like, a job's a job, like it is like, I don't know. I look at it a job's a job.
How did it feel when you start, so the Vice thing happens and you start going on Vice and then you start making your own YouTube videos. And I remember those YouTube videos taking off. Like, I remember seeing you on Vice, and then I remember you doing your own YouTube videos. And I remember them going from like having 150,000 views to having 2.53 million views. A job's a job and work's work. But there must have been a moment where you were like, "Oh, this thing is, hey, I'm being fully me. I'm being unlike anyone else who stood in front of like a camera and cooking stuff. I don't really look or sound like anybody else, and it's really working."
I don't know. Yeah,
No.
No. I'm like, even like the first time I went on like Kimmel. Right?
Yeah.
The first time I did a late night show, I was in Hawaii cooking for my friend's kid's birthday. I was just in Hawaii cooking. I had to fly back to LA, go to Kimmel. I thought my life was going to change. Nothing changes.
You thought you were going to get discovered on Jimmy Kimmel?
All this stuff ain't the stuff. It's just like, you are the change.
I don't know what you mean.
Being on this won't change my life.
Being on this won't change my life.
doing, but exactly. But I'm like, but if you continue to interview people, your life will continuously, you're good at it. I make people laugh. I make people laugh. I make people feel comfortable in cooking. That's it. That's all I can do. I crash the plane. I land the plane. Sometimes the plane goes in a different direction, but I'm like, I always get somewhere. And it's just like, people identify with, people aren't perfect. People cook every day. Everyone has to eat every day. And it's just like, I make people laugh and I make people want to cook, I feel. And so then that allows a lot of things, and it allows me into people's lives, and people's lives into me. And the reciprocal is that I get to keep doing what I'm doing, and I've been very consistent. I've made hundreds over the last 10 years. I make the same video every time. I don't know if you realize this. But I make the same frig. It doesn't matter if I make it, whatever the heck I make it. I'm making the same thing.
And what is it? What is it?
It doesn't matter what I'm cooking. It's me. I'm showing people that they can do it. And I think it's just like, that's the thing. I'm like, I come out and I still say, I'm Matty Matheson. Like, I do my thing. And it still works really well. And it's just like, I'm just happy that I'm able to do it, to be honest. Yeah, I don't know. It's like, I get to like do something that I love doing, which is like perform. I do love performing. I do love cooking more than anything. And it allows me to connect with a lot of people. And it's just like a beautiful thing. Like, even like when I started doing, like, I did like a spoken word, like kind of tour thing. And it was because I got fed up of just being internet guy. And I was like, I want to meet people. I want to see people. I want to like touch people. Like, it's nice to be in a room with people. It's a beautiful thing. I'm not in a band. I'm not this thing. But I was just like, I want to like go and like do a thing where I can connect with people, because that's what we need to do. And I'm a huge supporter of love and connection. And it's just like, I don't know. It's cool.
I just want to point out that this is like everything you're telling me up to this point is right. Like, and it makes sense, because every day is just a day, and you do one step again, and you know, nothing's that amazing when it happens every day. You just work, you keep working, and you figure out what you're good at, and figure out. But like, I think you should know that to me and to people in this room, as much as it's maybe against whatever, it is remarkable, right? Like, it is. You know what I mean? It is, man.
If you eat enough boogers, one a day keeps the immune system strong.
That's
you know, and different thinking gets you different places.
That's page 9 of the book. You know, how did the bear come to you?
I'm just like, it truly, like, the path to the bear was, I did an amazing charity, Alex's Lemonade Stand in Philadelphia for kids with cancer. I met Courtney Storr, who's an incredible chef. We became friends. Her brother works in television and does like a lot of, at that time, like, this is like almost 10 years ago, like a lot of stand-up comedy stuff and specials, and like whatever, writer, cool dude, whatever. Met Chris, and he was just like, we should do something together, blah, blah, blah. You know, I'm like, yeah, I'm doing stuff. I'm like, I don't understand what you're doing. And like, you want to do like real TV stuff. And I'm like, I don't understand that. I'm over here doing my thing. Because I'm like, I'm a huge believer in like, I'm on my path, and we may not align just because you think we will align. Yeah. I have a plan. I'm doing my plan. I want to do what I want to do.
Yeah, like, how many cooking TV shows have you been offered over the years? You know what I mean?
A lot. Lots.
Yeah.
It's just like, I don't care what your dream is. My dream, I'm doing my dream. Yeah. I'm living my dream to the fullest. Yeah. I'm doing exactly what I want to do. Yeah. Yeah. And I'm very lucky that no amount of money can change that. But it is like a thing that's like, Storr was just like the homie. Coco's like my sister. I love them so much. And then like one day he called me. He's just like, "What's up, dude?" I'm like, "What's up, dude? What's up? What are you doing?" He's just like, "I think I got something, actually." I'm like, "Okay." He's like, he's like, "We got this show." He's like, "It was gonna be a movie, but we made it into a show." And like, he's like, "Can you consult?" And I was just like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "I wrote this thing about this restaurant, and I'm like, I want you to like come and work with the set and like get the set right, and work with costume, and like work with actors, and like work on these people, and like you and Coco are gonna like make this thing like real or whatever, you know." And I was like, "Okay." And they're like, he's like, also, can you act? And I was just like, no.
So even then they were like, can you act? Like they were even then. They
yeah,
were
I've never acted. And like Store was just like, he's like, I want, and I was just like, I don't want to be I'm like, I don't want to play a chef. I was like, that's cheesy. I'm like, I don't want to do that. He's like, no, we want you to be like my buddy Fack from like, you know, he's like, because everyone's based, like the bear is Chris Store's life, really. Little sad Carmy, that's our little man Chris. But it is like, but he's a lot nicer. Or Carmy's nice too. I don't know. He's torn. But he just doesn't know how to articulate feelings. But it was just like this thing, and I was like, okay, and like I went and did it, and we shot the pilot, and then the pilot got greenlit. And I was just like, I like straight up, like I was just like, I don't even know if I can like do this as a show, because I'm like, once again, my plan is going this way. I'm doing this. I want to live my life and do this thing, and anything that takes away from what I'm doing, I don't want to do, because it's like I have a plan.
Yeah, I don't need to do it either.
Certainly don't.
Yeah,
I certainly don't. And so it's just like one of those things that I was just like, and I was just like, dude, you're gonna have to make it, because I'm like, it's a lot of time. And I was just like, we need to figure that out. And so we got to figure that out. And then, yeah, I don't know. The bear turned. We shot the pilot, and then it turned. The pilot screened well, and then they're like, okay, it's gonna go to series. And we're like, okay, we shot the series, and we shoot fast, and we shoot crazy, and it's amazing. And like,
when you were teaching the actors,
I'm just like, they all went and worked with chefs. I'm not like the end all be all. You know, there's a lot of people in television that make people great. I'm like Chris's like soundboard. I'm like the heads of the departments, where I'm just giving them information, telling them how I feel about things, and then they're the heads of the departments. They can still do whatever they want to do.
But can you give me an example of something you had to fix? Can you give me an example of something?
Just like the way when I got there, the walk-in was filled with stuff. I was just like, these guys don't have money. Are you guys reading the scripts? Like, there's no money. Take all of this food out. They have half a case of jardiniere. They don't have beef. They got 16 onions. They don't have extra stuff. Get rid of all of this lettuce. They don't have all this, like, they don't have 50-pound bags of carrots.
The only people laughing are the people who work in restaurants, by the way. I can tell that right now.
Get rid of all this shit. So I just, I striked it. Like, I just went and I was like, get rid of this. They don't have 6 pans. They have 3, 2, 1. They don't have 5 pots. Get rid of all the pots. Like, get rid of all this stuff. Because set deck, they're making this thing look like a thing. And I was like, yo, get rid of all this shit. And then I was just like, on set, then I was just like, yo, everyone has to be able to make anything that they're talking about. So like Ibra, he's talking about like the salad and this mortadella sandwich. I was like, we need to have mortadella. And you guys read the menu. You guys understand what's going on here. So everyone in the kitchen, we were like, we need to make it so that when they're doing their lines, even if we're close up on just their friggin' eyes, which a lot of the shots are mostly on their eyes, and we're doing all this work, but it's like, we still need to do it. And it's just like everything's real. So we just like, I went in and we just like set it all up, and we did all the mise en place, and I showed all the actors how to do the mise en place. I was like, fill this up. You're doing your lines, do this mise en place.
How did they do?
Fine. You're scooping jardiniere out. You're making mortadella sandwiches. It's fine.
It wasn't that hard? It wasn't that hard to teach them how to do it?
No, in season 2, when we got in fine dining stuff, that was a whole other thing. We brought in like Michelin, because I'm not a fine dining guy. I'm like a bistro guy. It's very different. So to have that touch and have that kind of dexterity is like a whole other thing, where we brought in some different Michelin guys, and they got to like fine tune stuff, but also like the way that they move in the thing, like you always know what's happening. You have this urgency. You have this demeanor that as you move through the kitchen, you are able to do things in a way. And so it was like, we just do rehearsal, and we do like choreography, where like, this is how you move. This is how you turn. This is how everyone would be acting. And then like, you're being like, you're like, like working with like Liza and being like, yo, like, you don't give a crap. Like, you're just like flailing around. Like, he's changing stuff. You do not understand what he's talking about. Any terminology he's using, you do not understand. He's speaking a different language. And like, why would you understand that? You didn't go to school. You didn't work at these restaurants. Right. You have no idea what these people are talking about. And he's getting upset. Why are you getting upset? You're teaching people who don't understand a thing, a new language, a new cuisine, a new thing. Like, what are you talking about? Be patient, my dog.
The show wins like every award in the world.
Yeah.
Nobel Prize, won it.
Stacked.
You know, Pulitzer
what do you
Prize,
want? Name one. Got it.
Prime Minister of Canada, won it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Don't want that job.
Took it all. That's why I'm here as a representative of the government, Dad.
Yeah, good.
But I know, and or at least I bet that what's more meaningful than the Golden Globes and all the Emmys and all that stuff is hearing from people who work in restaurants who say things like, "Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it," or "that feels
I think
right."
Anybody. I think honestly, like I love restaurants. Restaurants have given me everything. I love food. Food has given me literally everything in my life. I think just people. I think people see something in that show where people are trying to get through the day. Every single person here, I'm sure within the last week, you've gotten good news and bad news about something in your life. We're here. I get good news and bad news all the time. I'm here. We're showing up. When we show up, maybe somebody's a little more frazzled and we have to have a little more patience and they don't understand how they're doing it and they don't know how to deal with it because who does? Who knows how to deal with it? Nobody. There's no right way because everything is different. Everything is ours. Everything is ours to bear. And so I think the show, restaurants, cool. Chefs, they drink out of liter containers, cool. They sit down on fucking milk crates, we nailed it. That's easy. It's a human show. It's a show that's based on being completely uncontrollable and unmanageable and life not stopping. And it's just like, you know, we're all broke. Like I said, like we're all broken. We're putting ourselves together to feed people. There's nothing cooler. Every day people are coming to be fed and we're showing up broken as shit, trying to get our shit together so we can dress the salad perfectly for you. And you want to be disgruntled about it or over the moon about it. But that's our risk. That's what we want to do. We want to feed people. That is the coolest thing in the world to me. And I think it's just like, I think that show could have been about like a corner store or a cobbler or, like it's a family. It's just a family business. Everyone comes from a family. You may like them. You may love them. You may hate them. But we all came from one. And it's just like this family, chosen or not, or it's an employed and not employed, but anyone can go anytime. And they want to. They believe in each other, even at the work. Even at they're mostly just arguing.
Yeah, screaming at
each
other.
To be honest,
yeah.
Game of Thrones, they're cutting babies' heads off.
Yeah.
It's a little stressful, but I'm just like, it's arguing. It's life. It's so real, and that like those arguments can really crush us, and your loved ones being hurt or dying, or mentally unsound can really. It's uncompromising. But what do? You help.
Yeah.
You don't run, or there's boundaries for sure, but I don't know. You don't run.
Yeah. It's a show about what we go through and what we do anyway.
Yeah, I think so.
I want to come back to the book. My favorite parts of the book are the parts where it's you feeding your family. It's you in the backyard, making a salad on a old lawn chair while your kids are running around. The kids are going to the pool. And I can just tell like how much they mean to you in this book, how much of this food. I mean, the dedication at the beginning of the book is for your wife and for your kids.
Call my dogs, I think.
Yeah.
Or what did I call them?
I tell you.
I said something to Trish was like, do you really want to say? What do you want to say? What did I say? I said, where's the dedication? What did I say? This book is dedicated to my all-time favorite humans in the world forever and over. Trish, you're the greatest. I love you so much. And then what did I say? This book is also because my first book was just Mac. I think I did, and then I had all three of these guys, and then I was just like, what's going on over here?
You did
right.
I
was like, y'all are the fucking best. I love you. I hope you can always be yourselves and never hide who you are. Y'all my fucking dogs.
Jeez, that line stuck out to me. Can I be honest with you? I hope you can be who you are and never hide who you are. That stuck out to me.
Well, that's my parents. My parents. Fuck, they're fucking road dogs, and they never once. I want to dye my hair green. I want to pierce my ears. I want to like sit in my basement bedroom and like listen to Slayer all day. It's like, okay, you don't want to play lacrosse or hockey or do things. It's just like, okay, like they always allowed me to just be like my little freaky deaky self, and I'm like, paid off now. Thanks,
really
Mom.
did,
but it is like one of those things where it's just like, my parents are so lovely. They're easy. Like Maritimers are like, I don't know, they're different. My dad is like, and my mom are such like shit shovelers and such beautiful people that like I've never seen them like be like politely racist. Or like anything like parents are weird, or do stupid stuff. Like my parents are so loving to everybody. I find. That is just like, I think I have that. That's one of their character traits where I'm like, I just love people. Like, I really like, I think it's like, I don't know.
And you wanted to pass that on in that dedication of the book. It's a beautiful thing, Matty. It's a beautiful thing.
That's nice.
Has your relationship with cooking and food changed since you've had a family and what you cook at home and all that stuff?
I don't know. You know, I'm not going to tell you a lie. Like, the kids don't eat it. They're eating the nuggies, you know? Kids are eating the nuggies. You know, they love a nuggie.
Does that bum you out? Or are you like, hey, I just made,
No, I just made
a cordon bleu over here, buddy. You know? I just made the cordon bleu.
What do they want to do? Dinosaur nuggies. No, I think it was cool. I made like some butter chicken the other day and like they like loved it. I was just like, what are you talking about?
You're not supposed to.
You love this? Okay, let's go. Good. And they love the rice. And I was just like, okay. Because like most of the time they just want to like, I don't know. They're just eating baby carrot. What's up with the baby carrot? I'm like, I have a farm, but they don't even like the carrots from the farm. They want the baby carrots. I'm like, that's got the bleach. And I'm like, guys, what are we doing here? And then I'm like, I'm in control. And then I'm like, am I in control? And then I'm like, the kids, just give them the nuggies. Shut up. Get them the nuggies. That's how I feel.
I would have liked a nice, microwave dino nuggie recipe in the back of the book. I'm just telling you that right now.
Well, there's a microwave marshmallow chocolate chip peanut butter sandwich. It's pretty close.
Yeah, that's not that bad.
It's pretty close.
It's a beautiful book, man. I really loved.
Thank you. I think it is. I agree with you. Mm-hmm. It's a beautiful book. I make beautiful books. I'm very proud of all my books. I love books. People, books helped me. Looking at books at a young age and like looking at old cookbooks and like, it was cool. It was like my art. I don't know. It was just like my brothers used to make fun of me and I would just sit around and like look at these cookbooks and like love food. And I was like the only fat kid. My brothers had like they always had abs and shit. And I'm like, what these two fuckers got abs? They don't do shit. I'm over here just being the fat brother. And I'm just like, and I like food too. And I'm just like, y'all dust.
And reading cookbooks. I didn't know that.
I did. I love it, dude. They're the coolest thing. And before the internet, like you had to go to bookstores and sit around and talk to people and like look at things and find these chefs. I didn't know about these chefs in Europe and France. I just learned French food in like culinary school. I didn't know there was books, until college. I don't know. Then you're looking at books.
And you're making books, and I think they're going to mean a lot to people, and I think that people are going to get a lot from it.
My books changed lives.
Finally, I just want to say, I know you don't like hearing this very much, but a great joy to get to talk to Matty Matheson, who's done really, like, what seems like a whatever you put one foot in front of another career that he outlined to us. Again, to me, is like there's a lot you can learn from it, and I'm always really inspired whenever I get to hear these stories. So one more time for our friend Matty Matheson.
I want to take a selfie. Can I get everyone to stand up?
Am I getting it?
Yeah, you get in it. Everyone stand up. Stand up. Hold on. I gotta wipe it. Maybe I'll go even further. Yeah. Okay. Do. I want everyone to yell soup salad sandwiches on the count of 1, 2, 3.
Soup salad sandwiches!